Today is International Data Privacy Day. Now, the day raises awareness about the importance of data protection and online privacy issues. Let's look at how well or how poorly South Africa is doing in protecting private data. Joining us now is cybersecurity specialist Heino Gevers, and he's from Mimecast. Heino, good morning, and thanks for your time. So let's just firstly outline, when we talk data privacy, what are we talking about here? What kind of information?
So essentially what we refer to as data privacy, or data in essence, is anything that you generate can be considered as intellectual property. So whether it is a photo that you share or a particular document you create, anything that could be of any value to any person other than yourself would be considered as data in that sense.
So how well protected is our information, I mean, here in South Africa, when it comes to how we're doing things, our access to different things, what information we're allowing people to see? How well are we protecting ourselves?
So unfortunately, the short answer is not well.
Okay.
So in essence there, what we found, across our 33,000 plus customers at Mimecast, we found 90% of any incidents, unfortunately, is due to human error. So it's not so much the platforms that we store it in or how that information is stored, but it's what we do as consumers and end users to protect ourselves and our information that ultimately puts us at risk.
So what are we doing or not doing?
So I think there are a number of elements involved. I think what we're not doing enough of is enabling ourselves around what are the latest threats that we're exposed to. So for one, the likes of phishing attacks, impersonation attacks, or what we call weaponized attachment attacks are some of the prominent information, or should I say, cyber threats we're seeing within our customer base at the moment. So what, going through a process, I think the critical part is just being more cyber savvy or cyber aware would be a critical point to start with.
So how much of this do we put down to social media and our use of social media, and what information can be gleaned by what we're doing on social media? Absolutely.
If we take, some of these cyber attacks that we've seen in the recent months, and you analyze them and you understand how they initiated or how they were initiated, it all starts with social engineering. And by that we mean, your social media platforms, whether it's Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, for argument's sake, those are being scrutinized to understand who you are, what type of things you do, who's your network of friends, or even professional network. And then they use you ultimately as a stepping stone to craft things like spear phishing emails or impersonation emails, which ultimately result in data loss or breach of data at the end of the day.
So what's the worst that can happen? What is this information used for, rather than, other than just targeting you, saying, oh, I know you're interested in, I don't know, whether it's extreme sport or weight loss or whatever, and you continue to get information like that? Or can it be useful for really, really, what can I say, dark purposes?
No, absolutely. Yeah. No, information, I would say, is probably one of any person or company's biggest assets. So at the end of the day, what they will do with that information is gain further insight into your network, into your organization, and something that you might do quite innocently can ultimately lead them directly to getting access or gaining access to the CEO of your organization's email account, whereby they would then impersonate them and transfer or send an email to a particular organization, such as the CFO, and that can obviously have severe repercussions from a financial loss perspective, and of course, obviously, reputational damage. That would be, in our opinion, from a Mimecast perspective, what we've seen the biggest impact is to end users and organizations at this particular point in time.
So how do we protect ourselves, Heino? I mean, what's the best way, other than, we think that if we do those privacy settings and we have these private accounts and, only accept people that we want to, but how do we actually do this, other than just shutting down our social media and not participating?
I think a lot of people are trying to revert to that, but unfortunately the internet is, not something you can control or change. So there are a number of elements one can look at. I think the first and most prominent thing is to promote end-user awareness training. For us, that is a constant focus because, it's quite a volatile and ever-changing landscape, the cyber threat landscape. So enabling your end users or yourself as an individual is probably one of the most critical points. Secondly, I think, a lot of people with the widespread adoption of internet and mobility, encryption is critical. And when we talk about encryption, it's about storing your information on your mobile device in a manner that requires a password to access it. In addition to that, a lot of consumers we've seen, or end users, don't utilize technology such as two-factor authentication. And a very good example of that is when you log into your internet banking, you'll be required to type in a one-time PIN that gets sent to you, as an example. That is quite a critical one. Another key one would be to scrutinize the data privacy settings of your social media platforms and then control those elements of what people can see about you and what you post. So obviously your friends that you have and that you're connected with, they can essentially see all the photos you upload, for example, whereas anybody else, they can't see you until you've added them as a friend. Just a simple example. And I think also, furthermore, a lot of folks revert to using public Wi-Fi to do secure transactions, and that is also quite a critical component of being able to gain access to those
free is not always best.
Absolutely, and unfortunately data costs are not cheap, so we revert to that. And I think lastly, it is obviously to have the necessary technologies in place that help you to secure yourself. But as a parting thought, I think that one of the critical parts is that we need to make peace with the fact that there is no silver bullet solution out there. And it's not a case of if it will happen to you, it's a case of when it will happen to you. The question is, how prepared are you to deal with that particular situation?
And make sure you've done everything you can, I suppose, at that point. Okay, thanks very much for that. And that's cybersecurity specialist Heino Gevers from Mimecast, just giving us some tips on how we can protect our data in a world where everything seems accessible to everyone. Let's look